Welcome to Operational Harmony, Balancing Business and Mental Well-Being, a podcast with honest discussions about professional life and mental well-being in a natural conversational way. Your host is Nikki, founder of Nikki's Office, where she supports entrepreneurs through operations, systems, and strategy. And now, let's hear from our guest.
Hi, I'm Ben Speich, and I'm a fractional COO, which means I help businesses run EOS, which is a platform that I use, or a business process that I use. But it's really making sure the day-to-day, the inside of the business is clear and running and helping. But on a fractional side, I don't need to do that full time, 5 days a week. And I don't really want to do it forever. I only work with people for 6 to 9 months at a time on contracts or in smaller one-off kind of situations.
Okay. So one of my titles that we have come up with, because I do a lot, is the fractional COO, because I do the operations. I help sort through the chaos and create systems and stuff that will help people move forward. So on the same boat. I have never worked in corporate though, so I don't have that experience. I'm just coming from the point of this is like what your inside should look like. And when it's spaghetti, that's not what it should look like.
No, exactly. Bringing chaos to clarity, or bringing clarity to chaos, hopefully. Yeah, that's what it sounds or it feels like we're good at doing in that similar sense of loving the structure kind of thing. And it's not to even remove creativity, which I think some people think. I think there are these like visionary types that say, you can't put me in a box and expect me to operate. And it's not really about that, but it's about giving them space to be creative. And they
Mhm.
can't do that if they're having to run around and put this fire out and put that fire out, or all of a sudden nobody did the data
Mhm.
entry. So now the CEO is doing the data entry. And but if everything else is happening, you are
Mhm.
free to be creative. And that's the challenge, I think, of getting that messaging out of what it sounds like people like us try to do in a business. And so it's always been an interesting, I think, time coming into that and like finding out that's what you're good at, because it's hard to sometimes articulate that that's what we like to do and have people understand, where they just think we're introverted weirdos who like to be in a room by ourselves and play with Excel spreadsheets. But to actually help other people do what they do best is different side of it, and it takes a while to find that.
I have started to picture it more. So the CEO has a building, right? And there's probably cracks and stuff in the little mortar pieces because they were doing things by themselves and now they just gave it to somebody else without fully being able to realize what they were giving away. Or they hired a HR person who went combat mode on everybody. So you've got all these things that kind of puts the crack in the little whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And so somebody who is in operations, you are the scaffolding that goes up to repair those cracks and get things running how they're supposed to, keeping that building in tip-top shape.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the building analogies. Like, any analogies are good, but yeah, there's so many building analogies with setting the foundation and building the sides and then picking the color of the interior. And like, those are all relatable. And somebody does have to even just project manage that. And a lot of times it's not the same person who has the idea for what it should be, who can also schedule all of the stuff to continue to build that house. So I think
Mhm.
it's playing on people's strengths, finding out what they are is a huge part, which is very much then also the people side of all of this. Is there's the process and the procedure side and writing the SOP and creating how things should be done. And then there's the dealing with the people side. And that is a skill, I think, to move between the you have the coder project manager people that are definitely more on that process side, and then they're like, well, as engineers don't really talk to people very well. So you have those of us who can straddle both worlds.
Mhm.
And the other side is the visionaries and CEOs of the world a lot of times are almost only on the people side, and they don't
Mhm.
then step into the infrastructure world. And so that's where we sit in between is you have
Hmm.
your process and then you have your people abilities.
I'm better with processes than I am with people, but I do deal with people better than an engineer.
Yes.
We'll go with that.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
As long as I stay better at it than the engineers, I think I'm doing 100% good things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the challenge I think that we all face sometimes. And so those are skills to build. And I think putting yourselves in those situations where you can not only fail, but you can try over and over again. That's like for me, a lot of in person local networking right now. And it's not even with my, what I would say, target market or target audience, but it's so that I can sit there and talk about myself and talk with other people and pull out information and like practice doing it. Because I just sit at my desk and look for work and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden jump into it. Like you have to dust off that muscle again. And the local networking stuff really does help continue to build that muscle.
I use Alignable and I go once a month to my local group here. I am actually a moderator in my local group because I work with the ambassador anyway. And it's whoever gets to people first type deal, so it's fine. But during the meetings, we're both reminding people to do the things that they need to do and talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Networking for me is one of those things where sometimes I walk in the building and I'm like, I'm going to talk to people today. Days it's I don't want to talk to anybody. Why am I going to? And I never know what I'm going to get until I walk in the door.
That's a fun way to do it. But yeah, it does happen. It's one of those is like with everything I think in our day-to-day life, like you're not going to feel like doing everything every single day. And I think that's also fine. You're allowed to not want to do things and you're going to be much better at doing them when you want to do them. So there's some kind of rule there of saying allowing ourselves to say, I don't want to do that today. I'm not going to do it. And then there's the other side, I think, of that to say there's also times to push yourself to say, we'll do it anyway.
Yeah, like when I'm walking in the door, that's like a stupid time to go, oh, yeah, I don't want to do this. Because
like
guess
going to the
what?
gym.
You're going to have to. And you're here.
There, at least. You can't be maybe your usual bubbly self, but at least you are there and you're present and you're doing those things. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a fun game we get to play.
Yes, definitely. Although it does get confusing sometimes because some people, like, we had somebody come to our local one last month, the beginning of November, because we do it like the second Tuesday, I think. Pretty sure. I don't remember my own schedule sometimes. But she came in and she was like, I have an LLC to do this one thing, but I don't want to do it. And so I don't know what I'm going to do. And so basically, she has no business, but she's networking. And I was like, isn't that a requirement? A job or a business of your own that you talk about? Maybe? Maybe?
That's interesting. I met someone the other day who wanted to get into doing fractional. They were not doing anything at the moment and they left their job and were in that in between and was like, I think I want to, do this, but I'm not really sure. And so we were having a conversation around about what I do. And she was like, that's great. I would like to do that. And I was like, but she was asking me things about my website and I was like, I have a couple things on my website. And as I was building my website and putting, here's a box for something that I do and here's another service that I do, I started typing out a service and I went, I don't really doing that. And I didn't put it on my website because it's something I don't want to do. And I'm like, I don't have to put that on my website because it's my website now. It is my business. So I do get there's some part of that I think you could play with of, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, so I'm exploring and wanting to talk to people about it. But it's an interesting thing to go become an entrepreneur and start your own business. And all of a sudden you decide. It's like realizing as an adult, you get to make dinner every night. And you have to decide what you're going to make. And you're like, if I don't like that, why would I make it for myself?
Yeah, but when you're a picky eater like myself, you'll have to sometimes use things that you maybe didn't want to. Or other people, when they cook, use those items and you have to eat them because you have to be at least a bite or two polite.
Yes, there is that side of it, which is fun, and that's why I do enjoy the networking is to hear other people's journeys as well and relate to the difficulties that they're having in their own
Mhm.
company, offering advice that take it or leave it, I think. And I think that's a fun part of networking, or it should be a
Yeah.
fun part of networking, is trying to understand like everybody else's troubles as well. Realize we're all here together. Like none of us are Jeff Bezos. We can all help each other out. What works for some people may not work for others, but at least we're all sharing.
Yeah, that same meeting, we had a guy who was going to be doing an indoor soccer pitch thing. Everybody was giving him like, okay, so he's like, it's going to be because he's rented the building, but he has to build it out, so it's not going to be until like next year before it actually opens. But they were like, go here, go there to find kids, do stuff with physical therapy or whatever. So it was really good for that purpose. And then there's always somebody that's, I think you're a bit extreme in that belief, but you know. So we've had a couple of those. I am not one of those people who's weird enough to deal with weird people. I am weird. Nobody will tell you I'm not. But I'm not into CBD products. I'm not trying to tell people that they can just go die if they get terminal illnesses. Like, it was an interesting meeting the last time.
Is sometimes is interesting. That's part of meeting people, I think, is there are definitely all flavors, and there's the politeness that you have to bring to it, and then there's the choice to not do a one-on-one with those people. So
Yeah.
if you don't want to, but it is fun when you do connect with people and you find like real good kind of synergies within your own
Mhm.
companies. Just spoke to a woman before this, and we were talking about there's 3 or 4 people in our network that kind of all refer businesses to each other. And I'm like, at some point, we just need to come together and create like this, get your marketing done here, get your brand done here, get your business processes done here, and just create this whole workshop that people can go through with all of our businesses, even though we're all separate LLCs, because it just becomes this repeatable thing of, oh yeah, go talk to them, then go talk to them, then go talk to them. So fun when you can meet those people and have that blend, I think, of like overlap. I think that's the goal. That's the fun part about it. And you just have to, yeah, deal with some of the weaknesses in between.
Yeah, I've met some interesting people on Alignable. Some way more interesting in a good way than others. But I find that I get less spam sketchy posts like or whatever like they may try to do to be, I'm gotta be here now.
Yeah.
So there's all that.
Yes. Yes. There's the different channels. There's so many, I think now. Alignable was good. I think it does some things that like LinkedIn tries to do a little bit, but it's definitely different. So yeah, trying to be in as many places as you want. I think that's a tough thing for entrepreneurs starting out, especially now, because there's so much out there that trying to get that right kind of tech stack and schedule of things within your own day on when you need to be on different things is always a challenge. And that's again another one of those things that I do like to share with people when we're doing networking, to say, okay, what are you using for this and what do you use for that? All of these different pieces of technology that we have, which again, I'm not going to hide a technology because I don't want somebody else to use it. So it's one of those, I think you have to be that genuine person when you're not. It's a disservice to yourself if you're not going.
Yeah, I had an episode that I didn't air in 2025 because the guy was yelling at me the whole time. Not exactly the best way to go at a podcast host, just saying. But he said he was a networker. he was like, first of all, he was yelling at first because he was getting ghosted by his clients. And I'm like, I've never been ghosted. I don't know anybody who has been ghosted. This is the first time I've come across it. And then as we get into more of his rant, he starts talking about how the old school people, all of those networkers and stuff, how you don't have to do anything they said to do, and you don't have to read anything that they had to say, because it doesn't matter how you show up when you're networking, people will still want to connect with you. He said, I go to meetings and I'm the loudest person in the room and people will connect with me. And I go to meetings and I'm the quietest person in the room and people still connect with me. And in my head, I didn't say this at the time because I didn't want to set them off even more, but in my head I'm going, and now they're ghosting you because they have no idea who you are, because you're either too loud or too soft and you're not being genuinely you.
Absolutely. I think that it's one of, I did a post on it a while ago, but there's, in all of the networking that I've been doing, there are these like different types of people. And the more you walk around and shake hands, whatever, you start realizing there are the people who are there for themselves only, and they will spit 45 seconds, 3 minutes, sometimes longer, about what they do and what they're looking for. And then there's no return. And then they go, and thank you for your time. And then they walk away. And I'm like, you don't want to hear what I do? You're not going to give me tit for tat here?
Yeah, those 7-minute meetings in Alignable where somebody's reading from a script and telling you their entire life story and why they came into business and would you please buy my business? And I'm just going, I think I've talked to you before and I don't want to be here anymore.
No, exactly. And somebody else, I absolutely did not coin it, but somebody else brought up to me like the whole act of net weaving. And it's a very selfless exercise to introduce other people to each other. That for him was the point of doing the networking, is so that he could then hear something that somebody does and go, oh, that's so, and I think you guys should. And to continuously do that will pay dividends. And it's like a lot of things. It does. You can get a hit, of course. You can absolutely go networking your first one and find a client, but it is something that does take it's a long-term play, and the more you do it, the better it's going to be. And just like these things, like podcasts and stuff like that, you have.
Yeah, I didn't even get. I'm not particularly famous, but I didn't get this famous the first day I put a podcast up. That's not how it works. But it's grown a little bit here and a little bit there as I'm going. My problem is with my business and with my podcast is that I wear many hats. My podcast is mental health and business, and all of the algorithms only want you to do one thing, and they get very torn up when you do two things. And with my business, where I am the fractional COO, I am the tech person, I help with social media. My big thing with social media is I like coming up with the plan of action. I don't really like posting, but I will if I have to. But I really like doing the, hey, look, this is your product. This is where it will fit best. These are some people, the avatars that you should be going for. I love doing those. But everything that I do, video editing, business coach, all those things are different hats. And the algorithm is, I don't know what you do.
That is a challenge. And I think, is a very classic founder entrepreneur problem. And it's definitely one of those things that I've defined in my own company as well. It's a very similar situation of me doing all of the hats. And I probably say it way too much. And I might say it, I'm trying to not say it too many times during this call, but I always try to come up with, when I'm doing my workshops and all of the things, to answer the question, what does success look like in this thing? So when you put that hat on, right? If I can for myself define, when I put my CFO hat on, or I do my expenses, or I'm doing my marketing, what's the success that I'm trying to do right now? And I do that thing. If I can get to that point, then I know I've at least done it. If I want to do more, sure, but I'm like, at least I want to write this many articles this morning, or I want to do this many posts, or reach out to this many people. Finding that, I think, really helps. It really helps when you start then to delegate. because now you can tell that person you're delegating to, here's the thing you need to do. If nothing else, do this part of it. If you do more, great, but at least do that. And then when you look at it, you're not going to feel like, oh, that person didn't do what I asked them to do. It wasn't defined in a lot of cases. So multiple hats problem is one I think we have to tackle quite a bit in our coaching and in our implementation and the things that we do is figure out some way, put those hats into a distinct on-off situation. When you're trying to put two on at a time, I think is where it really starts to break.
I've seen people wear two ball caps at the same time, and that is just not the look. I'm telling you, it's not the look.
Maybe in the winter, growing up in Minnesota, I wore two hats before, but
the baseball cap with the beanie thing over it.
exactly. So
I think gotta cover that head.
It is,
but it's still not the look. It looks weird when it. But so one of the people that I am connected with, her name is Tanya Gossage. I was on her podcast in the beginning of 2024. She was on my podcast when I started it in the middle of 2024. She was my second guest. She does things where she helps CEOs and founders figure out the 80-20 rule. Because 80% of your time is supposed to be on the 20% of, oh man, I messed this up earlier too, income generating things.
Yeah.
My brain cannot figure out what those words are supposed to be at the moment. I'm so sorry. But she helps people do that and then grow their business. She also helps with delegating and figuring out you shouldn't be doing the HR. You're the CEO. Yeah. Why are you doing that? She's really good at it too.
Yeah, it's a fun exercise. I did that exercise a while ago with a company, and we found that 50% of their projects they were selling were only accounting for 5% of the revenue. Yeah. So we stopped doing those. We said, don't do them anymore. And we went into the production team and we're like, hey, we're going to cut 50% of these projects, but these specific types. And they're like, that'd be amazing. And we launched the year with that in mind. We raised their engagement basically from a $2,000 engagement to a $10,000 engagement to eliminate those lower items that were painful to. And yeah, I mean, it was funny part was a lot of people clients like get upset. They just went, oh, okay, then we'll do this, and then we'll do this then if it has to be at least 10,000. And the people who said no, we probably didn't want to do business with them anyway. And it was great. And after 30 days of doing that, we got everything out of the pipeline because we went to every client that we were still talking to and said, hey, just heads up, in this year, our things are going up. And by the end of the quarter, every salesperson, for the first time in the company's history, hit their quota. Every single salesperson. Because of doing that. And that's like a 10x thinking from Dan Sullivan or whatever, but it definitely goes into that. What's the 20% of work that's going to give you 80% of the result? And how do you find that stuff? And so we went hunting, we went looking for those things, and that was a big part of it. And so we bring that to all the other departments. That's one of those exercises I ask the question in a reverse, but very in the same area of what part of your job, if you had 10 times the amount of things happening, would break first? What's the piece that if you do 5 client calls an hour, what happens if you need to do 25? Where is it going to fall down? Whatever they are, whether you're an accountant or whatever, 10 times the invoices, what part of the process breaks? Those are the things then to go fix. Like that's when we start and go, okay, let's tweak that a little bit so it doesn't happen and see what happens. That's that fun work, I think, that I enjoy doing, at least like with all the individual teams, and then monitoring and watching it get better over time. So yeah, 80-20 is a fun move.
She's also really great at networking. She's one of those people who remembers people. I can't remember a name for the life of me. I'll remember faces till the day I die, but I will not remember a name for 2 seconds after you tell me. It's just not going to happen. unless I can connect it to somebody else I know. If your name is Kim, you're set. I know who you are. Funny story. When we moved here to Arkansas, we went to a church event, right? And my friend's name is Kim, and I'm very attached with her because of my brain being how it is. And so we went to this Christmas party, and I was sitting at a table, and this lady comes over and goes, "Can I sit here?" I'm like, "No, that seat's for Kim. That's safe. You're not sitting there. Go away. I don't know who you are. I don't want to know who you are. I want Kim to sit there." She bust out with, "But my name's Kim too." And I went, "Yeah, no, it's not. I don't think so. You can't have that name. That's Kim over there." So I basically bullied this woman into going, "Okay, you can call me Kim."
Exactly. I love it.
And I felt bad afterwards, but like my brain in that split second was just, "No, that's Kim's." And then she's, "I'm Kim." And I went, "You're not the right one. Like,
Kim, I'm talking about.
you don't get to keep that name. You're not Kim." Like, it was purely by accident. Like, I wasn't in thinking mode. I was in open mouth insert foot mode. And so she ended up grabbing a chair and coming up and sitting on the other side of me. And I was just kind of like, "Why are you so determined to sit next to me? What pheromones am I giving off that you like? I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go home."
That's funny. I'm going to take my Kim and leave.
And then my Kim came over and sat down, and I was like, "She tried to take your seat because her name is Kim, and I wasn't allowed to name." And so it was hilarious, but like, why did I do that?
It is funny. Speaking of things that we forget to do, I forgot that an apron was a thing the other day. And I was coming home from an event and I was already dressed and I needed to make dinner and go to another event. And I, in the car, was like, really wish there was some way I put on a thing and not. And then 5 minutes later of driving, all of a sudden I went, "Oh, yeah, we have aprons at our house."
I love it when I smack my own forehead because I'm just like, "Oh, that was the best time there." My brain was fully working on one brain cell.
It's fun.
Okay. I better not be getting sick again.
It is one of those things. I got kids and it's just bound to happen.
That's the thing with me. There's no kids that I come in contact with regularly, willingly.
Now you probably know who it is then when you do get.
But I have asthma and I'm immunocompromised because I have psoriasis and I take biologics to suppress the crap out of things because without that, I am anywhere from 80 to 95% covered and it's painful and inflamed. And let's not do that because it's painful.
Yeah.
But because of those two things and some trauma, I don't allow just anybody to come up to me and shake my hand or hug me. In fact, if you do come up and just hug me and I don't know who you are, I am panicking, just to let you know. There's nothing but panic happening in my brain. I am like static. You remember the old TV? There was no TV station, so it was like static. I don't know why, but my body feels that static.
I get you.
It's a thing. And so, like, somebody hugs me, especially if I don't know them, and I'm just like,
Yep.
"Go off me.
Yes.
Oh, go away." And that's always fun.
Yes, we have that. It's the running joke at my house is that the kids get one hug a day from me is our running joke. Because yes, I have a bubble and it's very big and there's only a few people allowed inside of it. So yes, it's always interesting, especially again, doing networking and those sort of things of some people are huggers and some people are not.
Yeah, I wave at people. Like, sometimes I'll even have my hands in my pockets and just wave from inside the pocket so they realize you're not touching my hand. And I'm waving. That means please don't hug me. But every once in a while, somebody will surprise me because I'm talking to this person and somebody will come up from behind me and grab my hand. I don't recommend people do that on the regular. To me or anybody else, because that is a great way to get donkey kicked.
There you go. Yes.
That's just a bad idea. Don't go from a non-seeing perspective and grab somebody because some people have a startle reflex that is in full high demand.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting situation, especially like I said, going out there in the world and doing the things. But I think it's one of those things that you probably have to practice and try to do over and over again. And then there's some things that you don't want to practice and just choose not to do at this point.
Yeah. I have been told that I don't have a bubble because bubbles are usually soap and water. I have a steel ball around me.
There you go. That's one way to do it.
But I am very open with the people that I talk to. I am in ways. I just would prefer that people respect the fact that I don't want to be touched. Not only because of the trauma in my past, but because some people are lucky enough to be sick and not know they're sick. And if you get me sick, you have the great reward of seeing me go to the hospital because of something you gave me.
No.
I don't think that's fair to people. So I try to avoid it. Really don't like it when I get sick either because then, nothing gets done. And then I come back and it's, holy hell, I have to keep up.
No, and I think that it's one of those interesting things they talk about with the introverts of the world where it is a smaller friend group. I find it as I get older as well, like the friend circle gets smaller, but they do get to be more intense, relationships. And that's a fun, interesting, call it what you want, but it's an interesting way that we are as humans of having that stuff happen. And I think that does bleed over into work. Like I do have really good work friends that I've left companies and we maintain an interaction. I really enjoy it when somebody I've worked with 4, 5, 6, 10 years ago calls me and says, "Hey, I'm applying for a new job. Can you be a reference?" And I'm like, it's just an amazing feeling to be like, okay, there are people who see that you're a good person to connect with, and you're kind enough to be in that circle of trust or that friend bubble allowed to be genuine with them, and they
Mhm.
realize that you're genuine with them and they're genuine with you. I think that's a great testament to who we are as individuals.
So on the flip side of that, remember, I don't like to be touched without my permission.
Yeah.
But if you are genuinely trying to create a friendship with me and I get to know you, which takes a while, like I'm not gonna lie, you are a weirdo to me for even wanting to talk to me outside of business for a very long time. Takes a bit. There's this lady, last year we were at a meeting and we all were talking, and I went, I'm the weirdo who wears headphones to church because I have sound sensitivity. And I'm also the weirdo that would ask you not to touch, but I still want people to talk to me. I'm not trying to be like behind a wall or anything. I just have limitations. And so this one lady come up to me afterwards while we were all having ice cream, and you could see on her face how hard she was trying not to hug me. And it was hilarious to me because she was trying so hard and I'm laughing because I can like physically see the battle happening. And then eventually he reaches over and she just pokes my arm because she lost. But at least
Yeah.
it was just a poke. But like I was dying laughing. And like we started talking. And this past Sunday or the one before, I don't remember when it happened, but I saw her talking to somebody and I walked over to her. And since I know she's a big hugger, I just did the half hug type thing. And the person that was talking to us went, "Whoa, oh my God, you just gave her a hug?" People get ecstatic when they get a hug from me. It is the weirdest feeling when somebody just goes, "Oh, I do it a hug." And I'm like, yes, I'll never do that again. Sorry.
And it's also good, I think, to be vulnerable. I think that there is a bit of vulnerability that we have when we can also verbalize that, say
Mhm.
those things out loud. Like it's that we're comfortable enough in who we are to say our quirks and our things. And I realized that years and years ago when I was doing a webinar or something with our company, and I had mentioned on the webinar that I was an introvert, and I was like, I still have to do these things and blah, blah, blah. One of the developers came up afterwards and said, "Hey, can I talk to you about something?" And I was like, "Sure, what's up?" And he goes, "You said you're an introvert on that call." And he's like, "You're the VP of operations. How did you do that as an introvert?" And I didn't really realize it. It's okay. People recognize this stuff, and this is how I can share how I got to where I am and how I do these things with other people who are trying to do these things, right? But yeah, without being vulnerable and saying that stuff, he would have never known, and maybe he would have never tried the things that I suggested to not get over that, because I don't think in any way introverted is a negative thing. It's just who we are. But I think there's like times and places to do those things, and getting comfortable with doing things like even this after practicing with other people and practicing networking and practicing doing these, getting used to it, I think is a skill that we have to try to develop. And so, yeah, it all starts, I think, with being vulnerable about who we are.
The other part of it is, in order to grow, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I do a lot that I don't always feel comfortable doing. Talking to people I don't know on a podcast. Like, I met you for 15 minutes before you were on here, and this is a soon after the 15-minute that we're doing this. So, yes, I remembered your face. Did I remember your name? Absolutely not. Except for it's on everything, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's out of my comfort zone to constantly be talking to a new person. But I also realized, and like I now realize this is going to be a theme for the last 5 podcasts, that I'm in business for myself and I have my mental health problems. I got all the fancy lettering after my name that has nothing to do with college and everything to do with the brain and the trauma and all that goes with it. But because I have both of those, that's why I do this podcast. It's not because, oh, I'm this big person who wants to talk to everybody. No. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to, in order to grow, you can't stand in the same place. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So I am stepping out of my comfort zone and talking to people and trying. So by telling my story, by telling how uncomfortable different situations make people hugging me, because that could help somebody else go, oh, I can go into a group as long as I have made sure that everybody knows if you touch me, you might get donkey kicked.
Yeah.
Reflexes. My reflexes, once somebody tapped me on my shoulder from behind in a group of people and I swung out. She was a midget, not a midget. She was, I think, Filipino, so she was like 5 foot and I'm 5'6". So like my hands went over her head, and so it was, you lucked out there, but don't ever do that again, please. So, I'm not comfortable telling people, please don't hug me. I'm not comfortable telling people, don't touch me from behind, because I can't guarantee what's going to happen. Some days I'm doing okay, and I know that there are people around, and I can tense up those muscles so that nothing happens. But other days I'm relaxed, and it may happen if you touch me, and no. Most of the time I go like plywood hard, like I just, somebody's touching me, stop it. I have a big problem. I have hair, and when it's out of the braids, it's big poofy hair, and people are like, your hair is so gorgeous. I'm like, it's poofy. What do you mean it's gorgeous? But they'll put their hands in my hair while they're saying it, and I'm just like, if I don't want you hugging me, what makes you think I want your hands in my hair? Just stop it.
Oh, man.
So,
yeah. Interesting stuff. I think it is.
I don't think I could do your look.
It would help with the hair touching.
Yeah, but I like the fact that I'm hair in my head. I don't think that my big skull would look quite so good bald.
It's one of those that I've tried to do as well. In knowing that, again, people are not always comfortable being vulnerable, is simply asking, right? Because if I'm comfortable being uncomfortable, I can go into a room, and I usually don't do the hug thing because that's not something. So I wouldn't ask somebody to give them a hug. I do then in a professional setting have to go, how do you like to receive feedback? Like you don't have to do it my way, how I want to have feedback. And I think that's one of those the golden rule of do unto others, I don't think is really that true. I think it's do unto others what they would want to be done to them. Like they are the one they're doing it to. If I want direct feedback and I want no nonsense and no emotion and just tell me the thing, if I do that to somebody else, they may not take it that way. They may ask,
Yeah.
where's all the emotions? And I don't understand.
Then
And
you get labeled blunt, and it's no fun. I am labeled blunt a lot because I'm not the blunt that will go, oh, you're fat. But that's not my blunt. I'm not rude. I am blunt in the way that, like, I don't like asking about the weather. I maybe
Right.
will say, how was your day? But really, I have a purpose for having a conversation with you. And I want to get to that purpose and do that thing so that I can keep going. And so I have to make sure that I stop and go, oh, okay, let's do the human thing today and not the robot thing today. And actually be a little bit better about going, hey, how's your day? How are your kids? Are you doing okay? Okay, good. We're done with the conversation now. This is why I'm talking to you.
Absolutely. And that's why I really love having agendas for conversations, for those meetings, to say, okay, we have 5 minutes of everybody's coming into the meeting. We're going to talk 5 minutes now. The meeting happens and we have all of our things. Because when you do get into those, whatever, conversations about my children or this party that I went to, and you can go, okay, that's our 5 minutes. We have to move on now. And you can chop that off. Be like, we're done with that story. We're going on to the next thing. That's a big one for me when I'm working in a setting, is defining all of the meetings that I'm having. What is the agenda for this meeting? Because I don't want it to have a 30-minute conversation about the weather and then 5 minutes on, oh, that problem we need to solve. We forgot to do it. So yeah, so that's a big thing for me as well when I'm doing all of my business stuff, is to agenda everything that I.
See, the big thing is the first time I talk to somebody in a day saying, hi, how are you doing, and all that, I can do that, right? But if I'm now talking to you for the 7th time today because, like, things are moving real fast and now I have to keep calling you to be like, okay, I couldn't send this in an email because I need an answer now, not 2 hours from now when you decide to check it. And so we're having this. I don't want to have to say, hi, how are you? Anything changed in the last 15 minutes? Like, I shouldn't have to. But then I get labeled blunt because I'm like, okay, so this is the update on that thing that we need to do. Where are you? And then they're like, you're very blunt. And I'm like, somebody has to be. Because if we spend as much time saying, hi, how are you? How's the weather? Every single time I talk to you, I have to talk to you 15 times today because of the situation popping off. I'm done talking to you at number 3. I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Where do you live that the weather is changing that fast?
Like, I get that your grandkids are awesome to you, and kids are great, but, like, I really don't want another story about them today. Can we?
Yeah.
And plus, it derails things from going as fast as they need to, because you're obviously in a situation if you're calling somebody 15 times.
Yeah, there's something going on and we need to solve it. I have some of the, I wouldn't say opposite, but the other thing is where I will have half the conversation in my head and then call them and then start, and they go, whoa.
Whoa.
Back up. I go,
I've done
you're
the
right.
same
You're right.
thing.
I was already in front of that thing. I said, let me start.
I've already had this part of the conversation. What do you mean you're not up to date?
Yes, people have told me I do that a few times, and so I've had to realize that in myself and say, okay, here's where I'm at, here's how far I got, here's where I came from, and then move the conversation forward rather than, yeah, I'll jump in way too far ahead.
That's always fun. The look on people's faces when that happens, though, is like the best, because they're like, what are we talking about again?
Exactly. That's fun.
I have a question here that says you've moved a lot. What does that mean?
I do move a lot. I don't know why I move a lot, but I was a company that I was part of was just a Swedish company, and they did software development and just got into the mode of moving. I started in DC, or started in Wisconsin, moved to DC, back to Chicago, went to Sweden for a little bit, came back to Chicago, went to Denver. Now we're in Austin. It just becomes one of those things, and it's been a fun ride of wanting to continue to be uncomfortable in where we are. And it's a fun thing to explore new places and that sort of stuff. Even if I don't like to leave the house, you're forcing yourself to do that stuff and find new experiences and things like that. So we do move quite a bit, but that's how my wife and I are, is she is my visionary person and I am the one who makes it happen. And so when she says we want to go somewhere, we jump up and make it work. So it's a fun part of who we are as people and things like that. And I think in the world today, like the more experiences you can have to challenge and change your perspective on things, I think it's only a good thing.
I am a military brat. I have been to or lived in every state in the U.S. except for Alaska and Hawaii, which is something I've said before on my podcast. This is not news to anybody who's listened to any other episode. But I lived in Maryland. I lived in Southern Maryland. I lived in Calvert and from Patuxent High School in Calvert County. I was part of the first graduating class from there. After it was like they finished building it my 9th grade year. And then we were the highest class going through, which was an interesting way to do high school. There was no seniors. We were it until we were seniors.
Oh, interesting.
And then I moved from Maryland. I went to Georgia, New York, because I went back to Syracuse where my cousins and stuff are. Then I moved to Tennessee. Then I moved to Washington State. Then I moved back to Maryland. Then I moved to Dallas, Fort Worth. And then now I'm in Arkansas. And that's just since I turned 24.
Yeah.
And now I'm 44.
I think it's fun. I think it's a challenge. And I was born in Alaska and I have been to Hawaii. Exactly. But it's fun. Yeah, it's one of those places, right, that if I could just end up there somehow, I wouldn't be too upset. But yeah, it's fun to move, and we've had to switch roles. Like, I think that's interesting too, is as we've gotten older, my wife and I, like, she was the extrovert, I was the introvert. She adopted me as as a
your comfort animal.
Exactly. And now we've almost switched those roles. Like, as much as I am still an introvert, like, I've had to force and learn how to be extroverted and do those things and network and talk to people and that kind of stuff. And she's almost gone the other route where we have a rule at our house. We do one thing a day, and that is it. So work counts as one thing. So if you go to work, you do not have to do anything else in that evening. And so Saturdays and Sundays, we do one thing and then we do nothing else. And so I think it's still fun though to move to a new place and kind of find all that stuff out. And yeah, we'll see how long we stay in Texas. We always are exploring what do we want to do next and where do we want to be in all of those.
We stayed in Texas for 2 years.
We're 2.5.
And we got out. But then we moved to Arkansas. And so unalignable, you do the smart connects, which is they shove you into a room with somebody for 7 minutes and then they give you an icebreaker and then more 7 minutes. The amount of adults who do not know what AR is astounding. I get people who come in and with full confidence, full chest out, are like, oh, so you're from Arizona. How's the weather? I didn't move to hell. Like, I don't live in a place where their cacti are melting. Not for me. I didn't do that. AR, that's Arizona, isn't it? I'm like, no, that's Arkansas. AZ is Arizona. Oh. So there's that. Plus, my last name is a problem living here in Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
Having your last name be Walton in Arkansas or anywhere near Virginia is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because there are 2 types of people in this world. 2. There are the ones who will ask you, are you that rich? No, absolutely not. No, I'm not. Do I look like I have any kind of money? No, thank you. No, I don't. Or they go the other way and they ask you, where's John Boy? And I have to tell you that if one more person asks me where that guy is, I'm going to snap one of these. I almost did snap. So I went to the hospital in Maryland because my gallbladder was a problem. So I went to the hospital to get it sonogrammed. Sure. I don't know what they call that. And I went up to the I was in pain, okay? Just to know that I was in a lot of pain because not only was my gallbladder hurting, my entire body on the regular hurts. So, like, levels of pain were off the chart. I stopped at the desk and I asked the lady where I was supposed to go to get the imaging done. And they asked for my name. And I was like, man, I don't want to do this. So I said, my name's Nikki Walton. And they went, oh, okay. And this little old lady behind us, sitting in her little pusher walker thing, goes, where's John Boy? And I'm telling you, I was in a lot of pain and I was a little out of it because I turned around, I was going for it, and my friend grabbed me and was like, Nikki. So I've got stopped in like the weirdest places and been asked, I have 2 questions for you. No to either one. I don't know where he is. I don't have that much money. And stop asking me that. No.
Oh, man.
No. And then we moved to Arkansas. And the area of Arkansas we moved to is near Bentonville. And guess what? Guess where the home of Walmart is?
It's in nearby.
It's frickin' Bentonville. So, got a lot more people asking me if I'm one of them because apparently they're somewhere here. Or they used to be. I have no idea. But I wish.
Yeah.
Okay? I wish I could be one of those Waltons. Not the mountain people. I wear shoes outside, thank you very much. But like the rich ones, I wish. Like if they wanted to cut me a deal, I would not turn that down.
Yeah.
Right? But I am nothing.
God, that would be fun though.
But like I get people all the time, are you one of those? No. Why I'm wearing a hoodie and like I don't have anything designer on at all. I don't know all rich people do, but they at least have like good quality stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That fits
But
the work
so-
from home. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I think I just run hot, so I do have them, and I enjoy having a cold house, and so I enjoy the cold house, so I can wear hoodies. Otherwise, I don't think I ever would.
I have super hearing. Most jackets that you wear that are for rain or for cold weather, they shriek when you move the tiniest bit. I'm telling you, I cannot. I have one that has my name embroidered on it, has one of the companies I worked for, one of the roofers I worked for, his company on it. Would not mind wearing that, except to breathe and
Yeah.
it's okay. So I prefer to wear my hoodies when I go out because look, this will keep me warm enough to get from inside my house to the car, and then from inside the car to whatever building I'm going into. I'm good. Although I'm going like this, I'm cold.
Yeah. I think growing up Midwest, I don't know, the blood has just stayed thick. It's one that I can survive quite a bit of all.
Spent a lot of time in Massachusetts and Maryland where they do get the snow and the cold weather. Massachusetts dealt with it a lot better than Maryland. Washington State gets snow too. So I have mostly been in places where there's snow. So I can deal with it. But my body, with all the arthritis I have, because I have 3 of them, does not like the cold. It aches. That bone deep ache just does nothing for me. It does not make me a happy camper. It does not make me want to talk to people or be nice to people.
Yeah. And that's a tough one. That's a tough one when you're not, like, going back to what we said starting out, when you're not comfortable to begin with, it's hard to put that on and still be that way. So, yeah, it's all about making yourself as comfortable as you can as you're doing the thing.
The one thing I want to point out is people around you don't know your struggle. You never know what somebody's going through, right? And walking a mile in somebody else's shoes is probably just going to give you blisters because they don't fit the same way, right? Even if you've gone like whole parallel lives, you've had exactly the same traumas and all that. The way you deal with them will be different. The way you handle things will be different. Just things are different.
Yeah.
But so at church this Sunday, I accidentally wore my Nathan Pyle hoodie, which has the comic on the back of it that says, "The beings are fictional, but the anger is real." get pissed off at books because, oh, why did you kill my character? But so I didn't think anything of it. Nobody usually says anything when I do wear that hoodie, but I usually wear a gray one that has got nothing on it when I go to church. I just forgot to switch out. But as I got up to leave, this lady behind me goes, I don't think the anger is real. And I'm like, what? And you're too nice. You always have a smile on your face. So the anger isn't real. And I'm going, have I ever even talked to you before? I don't recognize you. And I recognize people I talk to. I don't. What the heck? So that one threw me for a loop because I'm going, nothing.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think I talked about it with my boys on two different things. Like, you can feel, like, we're allowed to feel whatever we're going to feel. But then we do have a choice where and it takes time to learn. It absolutely is not something that is just immediately a choice, but you do have a choice in how you react to the things that happen. And so putting a smile on the outside, it can be something completely different on the inside. And that goes for ourselves, and it goes for, to your point, other people. You see, we are all people. And so we can do it, other people can do it. But yeah, I talk to them all the time about that, about being able to process something first before reacting and things like that. And it's a skill you need to learn. It's something that either, not that you can't ever do it, but you need to try to do it and develop it and things like that. And yeah, you can definitely be different on the outside than you are.
And it's not that. It's that this person has only ever obviously seen me at church. What am I going to do? Start yelling?
Yeah. There's context there that they need to be, aware of.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I'm smiling because I'm uncomfortable and I'm hoping nobody comes anywhere near me. Okay? If you look sad, everybody comes over and is, oh, what's wrong? And I don't want that.
Yeah. Smile and wave.
Yes. So it astonished me that somebody who knew nothing about me, who I'd never talked to, who I hadn't even seen before because I didn't recognize the face as anybody, tell somebody the anger's not real. Excuse me? What do you know?
Yeah.
But it totally threw my brain, and all I did was keep smiling at her as I walked away going, what? You obviously haven't seen me start ranting because somebody has made me explain where the save button is for the 17th time. Look.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, people are interesting for sure. And that's, I think, one of our biggest challenges is just dealing with the other people in the room at the time and trying to also achieve an objective, which is, again, we talked about it before we started recording, but it is one of those funny things, I think, about video games, that you're trying to achieve an objective, usually, depending on the game, of course, with somebody else that you may or may not, depending on how you play, know them. And it's interesting that you can be successful and win in that way when you don't know people, and then you get to the in-person stuff and it becomes almost different because, again, we don't know what the objective is when you're at church. Everybody has a different one. So now, if you're not in that common objective, it becomes difficult to understand what we're trying to achieve together. But yeah, I've always enjoyed video games for that reason as well. And I think there's a lot of, obviously, game theory and other things out there, but it's an interesting way to get introduced to the social aspect of.
My sister is introverted enough that she only enjoys games where she doesn't have to interact with anybody else. You are just playing through the game all by yourself, and the skills you acquire are just skills you acquire. I play World of Warcraft, and right now they have this thing where you're doing a remix. So even if you're playing the retail game, you are transported back to when Legion, right now is Legion Remix. So when Legion was around, but you can get all of the achievements you didn't get because you weren't there for it or whatever.
Sure.
And everybody at this point is pretty well stacked. Everybody is high geared, it's fine. Except I'm the healer.
Okay.
I am the healer. I like being the healer most times, right? Until I start getting blamed for stupid stuff. But so I have problems with groups. I go into groups of people that I don't know, and all of a sudden I breathed wrong apparently, and everything's my fault. Not the fact that person was standing in lava. That couldn't be how they died. No, the healer was just too stupid to keep him alive.
Exactly.
But I've gone through some dungeons recently where, like, I am so used to on my shaman, I will race through. We're all fine. I don't have to heal. I'm barely touching anybody. We're all good to go. And great. Lovely. I'm trying to level a paladin healer, which sucks all on its own. But now I'm getting in groups where the tank disappears. Nobody knows where he's at. Somebody who is the highest gear possible is in there, maybe, and they're wiping anything out. Or you end up with everybody not being geared at all, and like they're actually fighting for their lives. And I'm just like, I don't want to be anymore. Can we go back to fast running through this?
It's similar in a way. It's similar to Diablo. So I was a big Diablo fan, and so I did love that in Diablo 2, where you had the elements, and so the monsters were immune to certain things, and then I'm a frost sort, and so I can't kill that monster because they're frost immune or cold immune. Then you have to pair up in that sense of I need somebody else to help me out. And then in that kind of that aspect went away in the especially in 3 and then now in 4.
I play that too.
They don't have that. It's fun. I'm still waiting.
That's still alive in Final Fantasy, where they're the people who have, and I have played that also. Look, it's the type of game I like to play. But Final Fantasy people are a little bit weirder than the WoW people, to be honest. The outfits they come up with are just a little bit more out there. But like when they have a mage or whatever, I don't know what they're called because they're not just called the mage. They have to be sparkly farts or something. You have at least in my book, like I don't really want to be healing the monster I'm trying to kill. That's not exactly my point.
Yeah.
This thing is supposed to die, not live longer than me.
I think that's the fun part about games. Like I do still also enjoy the ones that are just me sometimes, and that's like Assassin's Creed that I'm playing right now. It's a very solo game, and those are fun to do, but it is one of the great social aspects that you can do, especially when you get that group of people as well to say, hey, we can go and play a game and not even really talk about the game. We're talking about other things and do all that. And those are those groups where you start getting closer and closer within that circle and say, okay, you're now able to touch me. Or
we have guild night on Saturday nights, and we cannot stream because the things that are said are inappropriate, but also because we'd be demonetized for music because it's not that we're playing music, but one person will say something and me and one of the other guys will start singing the song that lyric comes from.
Yeah, there you go.
And then we're usually singing the same song. It gets hilarious because somebody goes, don't stop. And we both go, don't.
Yeah, exactly. And there you go.
And then you can't put that up anymore.
We hit a lot of different topics. I think that's good. It's a good flow of a conversation when you can say that at the end of the day, I think. End of topics. Really, it's just what I'm doing is I am fractional COO and those sort of things. And I do really enjoy to work with those companies trying to get from that founder-led perspective out into, I say this and you're welcome to steal it, of course, as you want, but I like to say I take founders and I turn them into CEOs. And so you move through wearing all of the hats to wearing the hats that you should be wearing. And I do enjoy doing that. And yeah, I enjoy sharing a lot of this stuff. Obviously, I think my LinkedIn's and socials are posted, but I have a lot of videos. I do a lot of free education. I give away secrets and all of that stuff when people follow me. and I love answering any of the questions and stuff like that. I just enjoy doing that. And yeah, I'd love for any connections that happen of this or follows on LinkedIn or socials.
Okay. I
There
have
you
to
go.
do that myself.
Absolutely.